Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome once again to another episode of Football on the Know. I'm Jim McPhee, alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
Welcome back, Noodles, for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are ready to go. We are in the midst of preseason right now. There is a game going on right as we speak, I believe. The Patriots and the Eagles are playing tonight. Unfortunately, Jalen Mills is not going to be there due to illness.
Right? Jalen Hurts. Yes,
does, right?
That's right, yes. There could be Mills around as well, but and he's hurt. Yeah, so no, he's sick. So, all right, thanks for joining us here tonight. We're really amped up. We're excited to be here with you guys tonight. We had to postpone last night because of some other things that we were doing, but we're here Thursday, special Thursday edition. We're still pumped because our local team for the Arena League, the Albany Empire, we were there on the sidelines, partying with everybody, and watched the whole game. It was intense. They are champions, NAL champions. We're excited for them. So pleasure with having you guys with us here.
Congratulations, tonight. Albany Empire. Yeah, we really it was an amazing experience for us. It was a great game. Back and forth. In the third quarter, it was like tied 50-50. And then Albany Empire just pulled right away. They made some adjustments on defense, really shut down the Columbus Lions, and then just took the game over from that point on. Really want to do a quick shout-out right here. Thank you to the team president that allowed us to be there, Jeff Levac. Definitely was very cool, calm, collected through the whole, despite what he had to go through behind closed doors, but did a terrific job nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's give him a round of applause, everybody. Yes. Jeff Levac, that's right.
Jeff Levac, baby.
Yes. League team president, thank you so much for joining us here. So we're excited. We're wrapping up our biggest questions here now. We're going to combine now the AFC and NFC South here, biggest questions together.
Yeah, we're definitely doubling up here.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're going to wrap them all together just so we can knock them out. And then next week, and we have 2 more weeks, and then the season's getting started, Joe.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to be doing our picks, of the divisions pretty soon here for the next 2 weeks, and a lot more to come. A lot of exciting stuff before the league gets started. So let's kick it right into high gear here. Let's look at the AFC South and the Houston Texans here. Joe.
They're still a team?
Yeah, somehow.
Oh, okay.
Yes, apparently right now. They're in shambles right now, so who knows? Maybe they will be. They're kind of like the replacements out there. Where's Keanu Reeves and stuff
exactly,
out there?
Right?
He could be playing.
Yeah. Where's Shane Falco? You know what I mean? That's what we need.
That's right.
That's what we need. We need Shane Falco to step up and be the Houston Texans quarterback. And we talk about quarterbacks. Should the Texans actually be looking for their next franchise quarterback at this point? And there's been a lot of speculation. The whole court trial that's going on with Deshaun Watson is still happening as we speak. The indictments were out. The charges are all out there. And we're still waiting and sitting on our hands to find out what's going to actually be the end result, the final decision, and what have you. Same thing with everybody else, too. The Texans are still waiting to hear back from, is Deshaun Watson going to be available to them for this season even? Does Watson, even if he is, if all the charges happen to be dropped, which there's a lot of charges, if that was to happen, we'll just say best case scenario for Deshaun Watson, charges are dropped, NFL gets it now. Now it's the NFL's hands. Do they suspend him now? Because even though he maybe was proven innocent, because he went through that whole court trial, do they give him a suspension? I don't think they should or will. And if that's the case, now we're right back to where we started. Will Watson put a helmet on for the Texans and play for them? We know that he's expressed, much displeasure with the organization and does not want to play for them, wants to be traded, asked for a trade, and for the longest time, Texans were saying no to all these other teams calling them, and now it seems like they're open to suggestions. They're open to maybe even having a conversation of possibly trading Deshaun Watson. Now, let's just say, for example, they do decide to do that. You already know that if they make this decision and Watson is dead set, does not want to play for him no matter what, even if they try to keep him on the roster, they are going to be forced to look for their franchise quarterback. They are going to be forced to find the next guy that can be their answer for the future. And they're going to have to probably wait till the draft. Honestly, that's what they're going to have to do. Right now, They're going to probably have to use some bubble gum and duct tape for this season. We know that they got Tyrod Taylor, who all reports at a training camp, they're saying they love him, that he's learned the offense fairly quickly. He's running the offense very well. And it looks right now that Tyrod Taylor is the starting quarterback for at least this season. But going past this season, I think they really need to set their sights on possibly going to either draft or trade or whatever for their next quarterback.
Right, and they're going to have to deal with whatever they deal with this season. But again, this upcoming free agency, I think they go and grab that stopgap quarterback. And, let's take a look at the draft and see what is available there to move forward. But, again, grab that stopgap kind of guy if Deshaun Watson is no longer on this team.
Right, and here's the other thing, too, is there's quarterbacks that they could possibly trade for right now to – I understand it's really too close for the season for them to bring them in and be like, oh, you're the starter. They got to learn the offense, too. They got to learn all the checks and balances in their offense and what have you. But a guy that his name has been thrown around is Gardner Minshew, a guy who is apparently right now, the Jaguars have said that this is a quarterback competition over there for the Jaguars between Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew. Now, come on, let's be honest. The number 1 overall pick, I understand you put it out there like, hey, there's competition, but really we all know that in the end, Trevor Lawrence will be the guy, and Minshew is going to be available. So he's a guy that if they believe could come in, and we've seen him have some success as a starter. You know, he even had like 5 games straight where he was had all wins. It was 5-0.
Really nice.
Now, if they really believe in him like the Jacksonville Jaguars did at one point, they could bring him in, maybe, have him learn the system. When he's comfortable, then put him out there. Let's see what happens. But a lot of different avenues that they could go for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. He was there, too, before Urban Meyer was in there. Urban Meyer's made a lot of questionable moves throughout once he's gotten here. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does something like that and moves on from Gardner Minshew. And it allows them to get even some compensation for him as well. Why not? I mean, we saw the Washington football team do it with Kirk Cousins before when they had RG3 and Kirk Cousins. Now, at this point, hindsight's 2020. It looks like they maybe should have held on to Kirk Cousins and moved on from RG3 originally.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is the whole Tim Tebow situation.
Yeah,
I heard some news about that. The reason why he was signed in the first place wasn't because Urban Meyer, they were buddy and everything. But get this, Tim Tebow is 4 or 5 games away.
Yes,
from having a pension from the NFL, and that's the real reason why he hired him. Was that if he was able to make the team, first he had to make the team, and if he was just on the team for 4 to 5 games. Then he would receive a full-fledged NFL pension for the rest of his retired career. And he was kind of doing a small-time favor to him. But what's really amusing is that Urban Meyer brings him in and says, hey, this is what I'm getting. That's not going to work.
When people got to see it on national television, in the route running that he was doing and stuff, and the missed blocks.
It's one thing if he was going to be just a receiving tight end, but as a tight end, you do have to do some kind of blocking, and he was just terrible at it.
Absolutely. So, all right, focusing on the Houston Texans. Yeah. What other questions do you have about these guys? I mean, there's a lot, I guess. But
I mean, you could just
you can bring up a lot,
you
could just pick biggest ones, without being terrible.
But my next question I had was, what kind of offense could we possibly expect with or without Deshaun Watson? And we all know that they brought over David Culley, who has been a longtime assistant of the Ravens, of a couple other organizations, and is now finally getting a shot to be a head coach, which I don't know about that. Like, you're going to hire a guy straight from being like an assistant coach to straight up to a head coach. That's a little perplexing to me. So it could quite possibly be. But that's the thing is they got a completely different staff, so there's going to be a different offense. So what I expect, whether it's Tyrod Taylor at the helm or Deshaun Watson does decide, hey, you know what? Okay, I've been through the court thing. I want to play. And then he decides to play. I really believe that this is going to be more like what we've seen with Baltimore, because that's the last organization he was with for a long, extended amount of time. He learned under the coaching staff over there, under John Harbaugh and company. So I kind of expect it to be kind of heavy running, and that's maybe that's the reason why we witnessed all the free agent running back signings now.
Yeah,
they got like
exactly.
4 starting quality running backs in the backfield now. It just kind of, with seeing where they went in free agency and the draft, and they didn't have hardly any draft picks, but seeing what they were able to accomplish in the offseason, tons of running back help. They have an offensive line that's still being worked on, and really like not an enormous amount of wide receiver help. So it's how could you not think that it's going to be a heavy run scheme? Maybe where they use jet sweeps, maybe where they kind of mix it up with the quarterback, because Tyrod Taylor is another mobile guy. He's not as fast like Lamar or as dynamic in the running game, but he still could handle that, jet sweep option plays, hand the ball off, dump the ball off, whatever you need him to do. So I think that's kind of what we're going to see more or less.
Yeah, I agree with you here, too, because, again, when you take a look at their wide receivers, you get Brandon Cooks, who's been passed around a few times. Nico Collins, who they end up drafting in the third round, he is penciled in right now as their starter. And then Chris Connolly and Anthony Miller, too, the guys that have been liked by a lot of other coaches, expect a lot of good things from them, but nothing that really blows you off the page. Similar to what you were saying, like Baltimore Ravens were like a year or two ago,
right?
Minus the team not having a good defense like the Baltimore Ravens did. So, I mean, that's what you're going to be taking a look at with this team. So my, I guess, question for this team is what's the ceiling you're looking at here for this team? What are fans expecting out of this team? If Deshaun Watson will not be playing, you're looking at Tyrod Taylor, who's been a serviceable quarterback for this league, mainly with Buffalo. He did really well over there, but it's been a few years since. So how is it going to be for them? And like you said, strong on the running backs. If they keep all these guys, or a few of them here, they have a good mix of everybody. And also you bring up Mark Ingram, former Baltimore Raven too as well, right here with this team in the mix. That is, I think, where they will be leading.
Absolutely. And the other thing, too, is this team you can't expect a whole lot of. They've been through pretty much everything you can be as an organization in terms of disappointment the last couple of years. So last 2 off seasons, what happened? Bill O'Brien ends up trading away one of the best receivers in the game, and DeAndre Hopkins, for a bag of peanuts and David Johnson. You know what I mean? And they just gets rid of him. It really upsets his quarterback. And now this offseason, dealing with all these guys leaving via free agency, your contracts expire and so forth. And now you have a situation with your own quarterback that your franchise quarterback, 1, doesn't even want to play for you, and 2, has to go through this whole court process, which doesn't guarantee that he'll even be ready to come back and play right away this season.
Right, and a guy who played so well, if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, probably could have been the league's MVP last year, the way he was playing.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a big thing not to have, to where even the one question I might ask is this the worst Houston Texan team ever in the franchise? So, I mean, you think back when they had, David Carr and some of those other guys, and they also had Andre Johnson as well. Adrian Foster was there too. So a lot of different good players on here. But this team could be struggling this season. All right, so we've got Mike Tackett in the house with us tonight.
What's going on,
He's
Mike?
in the house. He says the question is here, who takes on that beefy contract Watson has? If he gets convicted, does that void his contract? Who does Houston pursue with that money?
See, now here's the thing about it's kind of like a multi-question here. Who's going to take on that contract? It's going to only obviously be teams that can work a deal that way. For teams that could possibly take on a contract to that magnitude, the Colts have been able to do so. The Jets were able to do so before they drafted a quarterback. That's not going to happen now.
Right now, also, if you take a look at it, who has cap space enough, guys that were looking for quarterbacks and teams that have been brought up in this conversation, the Denver Broncos have $28 million in cap space.
Not enough.
So, that's
they're going to have to create.
It would have to be the Jaguars.
Here's my
thing.
They
have a quarterback.
Denver could do it.
If they'd have to restructure.
Denver could do it. They'd have to get rid of Von Miller.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge contract of theirs. And we already know this is his last year. They could possibly
that was one of our questions for
that
the
right
question
there
for the West.
could be part of that trade.
Right.
Where they would trade Von Miller to Houston. They take on his contract. Deshaun Watson comes over, and then Denver would have to give 1, 2 first rounders, maybe 3 first round. I mean, who knows what they would end up with, but definitely 2 first rounders and Von Miller. That might be
and
suffice
who knows,
enough.
maybe they throw in one of those quarterbacks that they have that are competing right now. I mean, Drew Lock, still young, still could be turning into something. Maybe he'd throw him on the back end too on this whole deal.
Or
Just
Teddy Bridgewater, or
whatever.
whoever. So
so that could be part of it.
And then the other part of it is, if he does get convicted of the crimes or whatever that are put up against him, does that void his contract? That's going to be based on what Houston wants to do here, because let's just say that does in fact happen. Now, Houston has the power that they could say that this is detrimental to the team, and because it's detrimental to the team, we're voiding your contract. You know what I mean? Because then they gotta think to themselves, like, can we actually get any value now for trading him? Are we going to be able to trade him now that he's convicted? There's going to be plenty of teams that oh man, we could get Deshaun Watson, but he just got convicted of domestic violence and shit. I don't think we can really. Do we really want to do that? You know what I mean? So that's going to not only dramatically hurt his trade value for whatever team it would be interested, but also he could quite possibly be a free agent, because if Houston does see that as detrimental to the team, that could give them cause enough to void his contract, not have to pay him any guaranteed money, and not have to pay him the rest of his contract at all, and then he's just a free agent. Then you also got to remember, too, if he is convicted, the NFL now is going to definitely suspend him. How long? We would have to wait and see, because we've seen the NFL be up and down with all these different suspensions. So I would hope that if he is convicted, then he does get the book thrown at him, so to speak, with suspensions, because you can't be getting convicted of domestic violence and getting away with it scot-free, or at least like a slap on the hand.
Oh, yeah, inappropriate gestures here at the massage parlors and things like that. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean good old Robert Kraft?
Yeah.
Nice. That guy got away with a slap on the hand, too.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move on now to the Indianapolis Colts here, Joe. There's a few questions, I think, along with this team as well, because certain injuries that were happening to them, well, especially with the quarterback Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
And what we're hearing now is it's not as bad as it might have looked initially, and so he'll be back sooner than expected, and they are going to be working with these 2 quarterbacks that they have as the backups, and they like them both, so they aren't going to be venturing out for another quarterback, which is pretty much what we had said, though, too. They were going to stick with what they had. Maybe it came down to it before the season started. Snap somebody, but
now the only change that would happen is if he was absolutely done for the year.
Yeah.
Then it would be like, well,
then we got to do something.
We got to do something now to at least give us a chance this season. So, but hopefully that's not the case. They're saying that he could very well make it by week 1. Definitely by week 2 is what they're expecting. And Quentin Nelson, which was another guy who was in the same had the same injury, they're saying that he's going to be ready for week 1. Quentin Nelson himself is saying that. So, let's wait and see if those guys truly can get healthy quick enough to be ready to help their team out right away.
All right, so what do you got for your questions here?
But we got for the Indianapolis Colts here. I got a question: is the Colts cornerback position a weakness? Because we've seen them last year, and how good this defense really was. I mean, this defense was very underrated to some. Some people gave it the right accolades as deservedly so, but some people kind of didn't even really talk about him that much. Didn't give him the proper here we go, the proper the proper accolades as they should have. So now we're going into this defense. Now they did do some changes now. Via draft they drafted Kwity Paye in the first round, a pass rushing specialist for them. They're hoping that he can come in day one and wreak havoc in the backfield. Other than that, you go to the cornerbacks. Now, cornerbacks changed. They brought over from the Vikings Xavier Rhodes. And last season, Xavier Rhodes statistically, and if you watch the games for Minnesota, he had the worst season of his career last season. It was terrible. It was like he couldn't cover anybody. He let wide receivers go run rampant all over his side. And then you got on the other side, you have a guy by the name of T.J. Carey, who's a little bit of a journeyman, who's been on a couple different teams, trying to find a place to stick. And as of right now, he's penciled in as the other corner. So a guy who I don't have complete confidence in. I've seen him in person play for the Raiders, and by God, he's not that good. So if this is the corners that you're going with into the season, Xavier Rhodes, who's getting up there in age, and T.J. Carey, who has never been able to land a starting job until now, it looks like, this is going to be a dramatic disappointment, I feel like, for their secondary. And I just it's a big time weakness for me. I'm actually surprised because they did draft in the second round in 2019 Rock Ya-Sin. Rock Ya-Sin started last year and played pretty darn well. He was pretty good.
He's moving
down.
So
I don't see how he's not the starter at this point. I think that he deserves to be. And then we all know that the Colts have done a great job of developing young players and bringing them up to in the starting ranks. So maybe, hopefully, on T.J. Carey's side, or maybe Rock Ya-Sin could take that over. Xavier Rhodes, I don't know what the thinking is here, but we're going to have to find out.
Now, I don't think this question could be really answered in this. It's for a future tense, but I think this particular question I'm going to ask here is probably one of the biggest questions that is lurking on this team here. And was Carson Wentz the right move to make for this team? You know, looking at the injury now he had just suffered the past seasons here with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Time will tell now. This season, I think people are going to be keeping Carson Wentz under a microscope here and following every little thing that he does and waiting for him to slip up any little step that he does here.
Here's the thing about Carson Wentz. And do I think it's the right move? Absolutely. Because you got to remember, Colts needed a quarterback. And they weren't in the realm of being able to draft one of these studs this year in the draft, and they would have to definitely trade up to get somebody. So this is the avenue they wanted to take, because here's the thing: is familiarity. Is Frank Reich knows Carson Wentz and knows him so well and worked extremely well with him as an offensive coordinator for the Eagles. Wentz, that was the last time Wentz was super successful in last time he was successful in his career. So.
Yes.
You bring Carson Wentz over because you got familiarity, you got chemistry, you know each other well, you know how each other talk, the language and everything, and Wentz does already know his offense. So do I think it's the right move? Absolutely. Obviously, we all know the elephant in the room is that he has to stay healthy, and that's really going to be the sticking point for him. Is if he can stay healthy this season. We already know he's been injured already, and when he comes back, he's got to stay healthy. Absolutely has to stay healthy for the rest of the season. And if he can do so, I think this is going to make a big difference for Frank Reich and his offense.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what other questions here do you have for the Indianapolis?
One other question I have for them is, will Jonathan Taylor, the running back, or Carson Wentz be the reason for the Colts' success this season? And it could go either way. It really could. But I'm going to push all my chips in the middle of the table and say it's going to be all Jonathan Taylor. And this is the reason why, is because we've seen what Taylor could do in his rookie year last season. It was pretty impressive. And that was with a team that was kind of spitting and sputtering in the passing game. Even with Phillip Rivers, he threw, he made his fair share of mistakes last season, throwing interceptions and kind of stalling out drives and what have you. And Jonathan Taylor was the absolute consistent weapon on that offense and carried them to a couple of wins by himself. So I think the same kind of scenario, but if Wentz can stay healthy, you'll have a little bit better quarterback play in this offense. But Taylor, all through and through, is going to be the bell cow. Taylor is going to be the guy that's going to run the ball between the tackles. It's going to be able to, you can dump the ball off to him, and he's going to pick up those blitzes. Like, I feel like he's going to be the centerpiece for this offense that's going to really drive them to a lot of victories himself.
I think they've been fairly successful with multiple running backs that they've had because of the injuries of Marlon Mack, and now you see why he has moved down the charts, and now they go and get Jonathan Taylor, which was a great pickup for them. He's going to do great for them, absolutely, be a good workhorse for them, or like you like to call it, maybe even the bell cow for this team. But I think all success ends and starts with Carson Wentz, because that's the thing. They've needed their quarterback to be there that can play efficiently We had the aging Phillip Rivers, who, again, was just turning the ball over too many times. Carson Wentz, who was in a team that seemed like he had already given up, like, in the fact that, like, I don't trust anybody. I'm running for my life. I have to make everything happen by myself. He felt like in the Aaron Rodgers type of role. Like, oh, my gosh, I got to try and do this, and he wouldn't go down because he's fighting for every little yard. He felt like he had to do this. If he could just take a step back
but
here,
to be
just
fair,
relax and stay behind that offensive line, and he could have success with this. And I think if he is successful, that's what this team needed to go and get that next step and be further. So I think it all goes. I understand a great running game, and I think Jonathan Taylor is going to step up and have a better season this year. But I think the whole team, the ship steers all by Carson Wentz.
And to be fair, you got to remember when he was playing for the Eagles his last couple of seasons, he had no offensive line. He had very little weapons to throw to. So he was, and it goes along with what you're saying, he was pressured to take off and run. But the simple thing is being smart enough to get out of harm's way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really what it comes down to. So hopefully with Frank Reich's, coaching style and his demeanor and how he handles Carson Wentz, hopefully he can get that drilled through his thick head this season.
Absolutely. We have a quick announcement to make. Smoky Bones is going to be home for Monday Night Football over here in Albany with us and Godzilla Media. We will be doing a couple shows here for Monday Night Football along with our counterparts here that belong to Godzilla Media in upstate New York. That's right. So make sure you guys go to Smoky Bones Monday nights. We will be there. I think it's like 6:15 to 8 o'clock or so, right before the game is about to get started. Come on down, chill with us, hang out, get some swag probably. We'll have some stuff there. Say hi.
Have a drink with us.
Absolutely.
Have a
We're
good
all
time.
about doing drinks down there, and enjoy the game.
Some
So there you
food.
go. Smoky Bones, your home for Monday Night Football. All right, moving on. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's right, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Urban Meyer, who I despise. But
He despises.
but I think he's going to fail epically here too. So I'm hoping for it. And right now, it's looking pretty good for me. We'll see, though. He's got the franchise quarterback there.
Yeah,
and again, he looked like he
hasn't even coached yet.
I
You're
know.
already saying he's having a disaster.
Decisions he's making, I'm just not agreeing with, which is
I think it was a good
stupendous for me,
decision
'cause I
to
don't
cut
like
Tim Tebow.
Oh, yeah, it was great. That's probably his best one he's made so far. But why bring him in? Yeah, we already heard,
already
because
know.
maybe he did that. But here you go. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Joe. What do you got?
What limitations does the Jacksonville Jaguars have?
Jaguars.
Offense have. Jaguars. There we go. So we're not going to do the whole Jaguars deal here. But
All right.
What limitations does their offense have? And here's the thing is, obviously what you can really point to right now is their quarterback situation. It's got to be a question mark. Like we've all seen Trevor Lawrence in his college days in Clemson and how successful he was there. But sometimes he made some mistakes. And in the NFL, the next step up, the big stage, there's going to be a lot more asked of him. He's got to be very diligent and smart with the football, cannot just kind of try to force throws and throw it to the wrong read or what have you. So it's going to be mostly on him. That's really kind of where the limitations are. And you could say like, oh, well, what about the receiving? Well, here's the thing is I really do expect a guy by the name of Laviska Shenault to step up big time. In his second year as that slot receiver, really kind of played extremely well down the stretch, and I look for him to build upon that this upcoming season, along with guys like DJ Chark, who is the number one receiver for them, and hell, he's not a bad number one to have. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think that they're going to heavily lean on guys like that to help out Trevor Lawrence. And now they finally have a healthy offensive line for the first time in a couple of years. So hopefully that does turn into better pass protection for Trevor Lawrence to give him a little bit more time to diagnose plays and to be able to throw it. But for me, running back is not a question. We already seen what James Robinson did last year. And they also brought in Ohio State favorite Carlos Hyde to back up Robinson as of right now. So that's kind of like a nice 1-2 punch there. And all in all, I think that the whole thing is going to just be about Trevor Lawrence. It has to be. We all know that's like the most prominent position, obviously. But for this offense to get better, to be more successful for this upcoming season, it's all on Trevor Lawrence's shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and looking at the wide receiver core that he has here, What's the limitations? It's got to be even in them at this point. I mean, just because even that, it's not even much, I guess, actually, when you take a look at it. So when you look at offensive limitations, I don't know if they really even have one at this point because, again, you got to take a look. Maybe it's tight end. Tight end, I'd say tight end. All right, there you go.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
James O'Shaughnessy's pretty good.
Yeah, he's okay.
He's pretty good.
He's okay.
You'll see.
But all right. But again, wide receivers, they got some okay guys there too. I mean, so I'd say even wide receiver maybe too. I like Laviska Shenault, like you're saying here too, G.J. Shark. But again, Marvin Jones, he had his stint in Detroit where he did his best years a couple of years ago, but since then hasn't been too healthy and very productive. So maybe a spot there. But like you said also as well, James Robinson coming in here. You've got Travis Etienne, who they said they maybe were going to try out at wide receiver, but then also their running back looks really good for them. And now Trevor Lawrence throwing the football to him. So
that to me is the one sore thumb that sticks out. Is
that's
really
going to
be
for them to do it.
Really going to be based on how fast he can
absolutely.
develop.
Yeah.
So because I could say. Actually, when I was looking at it, their offense isn't that really bad, like position by position.
That's why it's
so
kind of funny looking at limitations.
The only thing that kind of really sticks out to me is however Trevor Lawrence plays. Like, he doesn't have to be the elite guy right away. He just has to manage the game right now in his first year as a rookie. Listen, if he's anything close to like Justin Herbert was in his rookie year, I'd say that answers all the questions right there. But we still have not seen him in an actual NFL game. So until we do, we can't pass judgment.
All right, so for me, I guess then when you take a look at it, and you look at this offense, I bring up running backs. The question for me is, who will be the feature back there then? I mean, James Robinson lit the league on fire with his rookie year, and again, came out of nowhere. People didn't really see this really happening for them. But now you go and draft for your first pick in the first round here, but after a second pick, after Trevor Lawrence, you get Travis Etienne to help him out, former teammate alongside of him. So how involved is he going to be? Probably a lot, but who's going to be the feature back, or are they going to just split time evenly?
I think it's hands down James Robinson will be the featured running back just like last year. The reason why they brought Travis Etienne is because they wanted a different style of running back. So a guy that they could be able to throw the football to more often out of the backfield or even across to the middle of the field, little dump offs, and let him take over in the open field. So Travis Etienne definitely going to be a big part of this offense, but I feel like he's going to be more in the receiving game than he is with the handing off of. So I think it's going to be a combo between James Robinson and Travis. However, I think Robinson gets the bulk of the touches.
All right, so what else do you have for the questions for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
You're funny.
I'm making you do it. I'm sorry.
It's ridiculous.
All right.
So the last thing I have is the Jaguars' defense underrated? And we know that they kind of taken a little bit of a decline last year because they were trying to figure some things out. They had to fill some holes and what have you. But now going into this offseason, they had a lot of money that they were able to spend, and they also drafted pretty darn well in this past draft, having a lot of later on picks that they could get better depth with. And you look at their defense, they still have Josh Allen, who had double-digit sacks last year in his rookie campaign or 2 years ago. And then now you're looking at little free agent additions that they made. Devon Hamilton, who was a backup last year, now gets rotated into the starting lineup. Definitely looks the part at D-tackle. Also, you got guys like Malcolm Brown. And one of the underrated signings, I feel like, is Roy Robertson Harris, who came over from Chicago, the Chicago Bears. And he was kind of on a rotational basis with Chicago. But, man, when he was in there, he was really dialing it up. He was really creating some havoc in the backfield. And then, of course, everyone knows Miles Jack. And then a couple of young studs at the linebacker position. They are very young in that position, but still getting better. And then as far as the secondary, they just got immensely better in this offseason alone. They bring over Rayshon Jenkins from the Chargers, start over there. He's going to fill the free safety shoes here. They also bring over Shaq Griffin, which was one of the bigger signings that they had.
Absolutely.
And now you look at guys also, they brought in Sidney Jones to kind of help him, maybe further develop him. Maybe he could earn a starting role. And C.J. Henderson, who they drafted in 2020, is now being put up on trade block rumors. This is interesting. Like, he was a starter last year, played admirably well for a rookie corner, being picked on all season, and did a great job of it. Now it seems like maybe they're not so happy with him. Maybe they want to move on from him because they're saying that he doesn't fit the defense. Are you kidding me? So that's got to be all figured out. But nonetheless, I feel like all in all, that this defense with the young studs that they have in linebacking positions and in the secondary and in the D-line, I feel like this is kind of like a little bit of an underrated defense that could surprise a lot of teams this year.
Yeah, it could be. We'll see what happens with these guys. But we have Godzilla Media in the house with us tonight.
There he is.
Ooh, the fam is in the house, so we got to be good, Joe. We got
Godzilla,
the fam in the
Godzilla.
house. Yeah, that's right. He says, will Urban Meyer last the whole season as the coach? Or will he retire?
Here's the one thing that I'll say about Urban Meyer is, as a coach, absolutely believe that he's going to last the whole season. No problem. The only thing that I'll put a disclaimer in there for is that he did have medical issues going back to college. When he was coaching Ohio State. That's the whole reason why he left the college game as a head coach, is because he had those medical issues. They were bothering him to the point where he's like, I got to leave the game that I love. I'm highly stressed, and it's hurting my heart and this, that, and the other thing. So that's going to be the big thing. This is the NFL. You think college was stressful. Welcome to the NFL. That's on a whole other level. So if he can handle it, he'll be okay. But again, this has got to be a little bit concerning, for him and his family. Even though he loves to coach, I think he'll last all season. But maybe at the end of the year, maybe he rethinks things.
Yeah, it could be. Again, it might be on his decision there. I don't think he's going to get pushed out because, again, it's your first time in there, college coach. You were very. I don't know about not just popular, but you were very successful as a college coach too. Finally make your break into the NFL, and usually it's leave on your own terms. You don't get fired, so we'll see what happens with that team. More to stay tuned, but there we go. We got Mike Tackett in the house with us tonight. All right, he says, did you guys see all those purchased Tim Tebow jerseys from NFL Shop? And they're not covered by their jersey assurance program, allowing them to return their jersey for full refund or exchange because it doesn't cover players getting cut or retiring. That $120 jersey for a one-game preseason casualty isn't looking too hot right now. I mean, that is amazing.
Wait a second. Did people actually bought Tim Tebow jerseys?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, as soon as he got signed, that's a thing? Like, you go out, run right out there and get, I love Tim Tebow. I'm getting his jersey.
Yeah. I just don't. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, though, either. I mean, I haven't gotten a Daniel Jones jersey yet. I'm waiting until it's like, the questions are answered already.
Wait.
I'm not going to get a Tebow jersey, but, the fanatics are fanatics.
To wait at least till the 55-man roster is announced?
Yeah.
To see who actually makes it? Like, there was no guarantee Tebow made it. People were buying his jersey. That's just crazy. Wow.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Yeah, I don't get it, but that's the way Tebow fans are. They're nuts. So, maybe he'll still get on the roster somehow, not as a player, but or even on the staff as like the preacher for the team. You never know. How about that?
Right.
Right, you never know. What's that called? Even but they have them. Maybe say a prayer for the games, get everybody motivated. Who
Reverend.
knows? Yeah. But
Reverend Tim.
But maybe also he'll just go back to the SEC network or something too. So he's got options. He could
go back to doing his announcements or whatever.
Here we go. Mike Tackett's here as well. It says Tebow was the league best-selling jersey for about 2 weeks. There you go. And it is. It's just amazing. It's like some people the fans follow and they'll just sell.
What? $120 to buy a guy that most likely wasn't going to make the team anyway.
Because people like him. He's a likable guy, so people want to believe in him and then also just support him too as well. I know the Jaguars, they probably really benefited from this. Getting, I don't know how much they get a cut if they do, if they sell some of those jerseys for those particular players.
I like
NFL
players
loved
too.
it, obviously.
I like players too, but I'm not going to buy a Jaden Mickens jersey who's not even on the team now. Like, I'm not going to buy it before you even see the 55-man roster.
Right.
Like, that's a little crazy to me. Like, you buy a practice jersey, a guy that's not guaranteed to make the team. That's crazy, and you spend $120?
I mean, listen, we talking about practice.
Exactly. Tell him, Alan.
That's right.
Not a game.
Tell him.
Not a game. We talking about practice.
That's right.
Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Fans are fans. It's short for fanatics, so that's why.
Anyway,
you get
all
that.
right,
Anyways, moving on to the Tennessee Titans, right?
That's it.
There you go.
You are correct, sir.
All
Ding,
right,
ding, ding.
Tennessee Titans. Boom.
Got it right.
All right.
Let's go.
What do you got now for the questions for the Tennessee Titans, Joe?
All right, so my first question I have for them is, did the Titans improve their pass rush enough here? So that was been a big kind of problem for them in the recent seasons, is that they just didn't have enough pass rush. They didn't have enough guys to get after the quarterback. They struggled mightily with it. And last season, I actually expected their defense to get better last season. Instead, they went the other direction. And
yeah, they did.
And I really can't figure out, like, you could say, okay, yeah, they had injuries. Malcolm Butler was injured last year for them. Adoree Jackson was another corner of theirs, a starting corner that was out for the season. So both those guys are missing both their starting corners, but where's the pass rush? So now you look at them this year, and they made an effort. This offseason, they bring over a guy by the name of Danico Autry from the Colts, who was their starter, a guy who is a pretty good darn 4-3 D end who can play against the run and the pass. Very strong dude. They also bring over a guy everyone knows, Bud Dupree from the Pittsburgh Steelers, a guy who had double-digit sacks last year for the Steelers, despite having T.J. Watt on the other side. This guy can ball. This guy can get after the quarterback. He's definitely going to wreak havoc in the backfield and break up some plays, stop some runs for them. So this is kind of where I'm looking at, because they do run like a 3-4 hybrid type of defense. It's a little bit weird. But you also got guys like Harold Landry, who was also a guy who was pass rushing off the edge. You might even see a guy by the Jayon Brown also rushing. But I think it's really going to come down to guys like Bud Dupree and Danico Autry that are going to play a big part of this team. Also, you got to remember, is Jeffrey Simmons, who's in his third year as a D lineman. He started to really come on strong last season. So a combination of these three, I think, are going to play huge dividends for this defense. And I do, in fact, think that they've improved their pass rush enough to help out their fellow secondary players.
Yeah, I hear you too. Absolutely good. We saw where they were struggling last year. They were 28th and 24th against the yardage and points here on defense. So struggling at a time where it's just a year prior, they even had some other weapons there in the secondary too to help out, and made it a deep run there where they took out the Patriots and things and into the playoffs. Now they're struggling with a little bit of that moving forward, but again, fitting somebody like Janoris Jenkins here into the backfield, I'm not really happy about that situation there as well. So they still might be weak at corner at that position right
Here's
there.
Here's the thing about Janoris, and I know like he was with your Giants and he didn't play as well for you guys as you would hoped. At times he did, but not all the time. Janoris Jenkins plays extremely well in a cover 2, cover 3 zone defense.
Right, exactly.
And this is where he fits into this Tennessee Titans defense. Not to mention they also have a younger stud opposite him in Christian Fulton, who is now finally getting his due at corner. Very young kid who looks like he wants to. Obviously he's going to want to prove himself this year and show everybody that he definitely deserves that starting role, along with other young guys like Amani Hooker, who's coming on at safety, and Kevin Byard, who's an all-pro safety, to help out this secondary. So I think all in all, their secondary is stronger than last season. And that in turn, listen, you need a pass rush to help out your secondary, no matter how good it is. Like, I don't care if you have the best of the best. You have Ramsey on one side, and you got guys like Marshawn Lattimore on the other side. Doesn't matter how good your corners are. If receivers are given enough time to get open, they're going to eventually get open.
Absolutely.
So I feel like with the improved pass rush, it looks like, and the defense that they've assembled or via draft and free agency, I feel like they're going to be okay. I just feel like they're going to be all right there.
All right, my question for the Titans here now, with Arthur Smith going to the Falcons and becoming their head coach,
Right, yeah.
Now how different will this offense look? You would expect, hopefully, that they would still, again, ride the back of Derrick Henry here, at least be a run-first type of game, but they have better weapons here now, at the wide receiver position, where they have Julio Jones on the opposite side of A.J. Brown now as well.
Right.
Josh Reynolds there, too, in the wide receiving position. So who knows? Maybe they decide to air it out a bit more, though, too, and even alleviate some of that pressure off of Derrick Henry. So what are we going to expect here out of
So
this?
I'm just going to say right now my question, because it's kind of the same thing.
Right.
You know,
It's gotta
so
go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know,
so
that's the way we work, buddy.
It was it was about how can the offense get better this season, and it's kind of the same kind of thing that we're going to be talking about anyway. So I might as well just say it. They do have a new offensive coordinator, obviously, in Todd Downing. Now, Todd Downing's been to a couple of different teams and has done pretty darn well for himself so far in his career. Now he's getting a chance to be the offensive coordinator for the Titans. I think this is a good move. Overall, I think this guy is ready to take over. He's been a coordinator before, so he has experience, and he's been successful at it. So now he comes over to the Titans. With Todd Downing, and I know him personally. Yeah, me and him we go out, have a drink every once in a while. We've talked.
You have balls. I like balls.
There you go. See, so Todd Downing, he's kind of a guy that likes to mix it up. So I don't think you're going to see, Tennessee Titan fans, I don't think you're going to see that heavy bell cow running like Derrick Henry is used to be doing. Like, basically, the offense revolved around Derrick Henry. Here, give it to Henry. Give it to Henry. Hey, just give it to him one more time. You know, and then they would play off of the run with play action and throw the ball, and that's kind of where the passing plays opened up for them. I think now you're going to see a little bit more of a balanced offense. You're going to see Henry still involved, obviously. He's a Pro Bowl player. He's a great running back, so he's definitely still going to be heavily involved. But I think that they're going to kind of shift gears just a little bit, just enough to throw defenses off. And they'll hand it off to Derrick Henry, but they also acquired Julio Jones to team up with A.J. Brown. That's a nice tandem to have in the receiving core, along with a free agent acquisition, Josh Reynolds, coming over from the Rams, who I think is a kind of an underrated signing. So with those three receivers, now you have a complete receiving core. You got a running back that can run the daylights out, and good luck guarding everybody. You know what I mean? So I think all in all that this offense is going to be very balanced. It's going to be hard to defend. So good luck, defenses.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to talk about getting better. I mean, it's tough when last year, points for, they were ranked 4th, and yardage, they were 2nd. So, and then you'll get, with the run, it was 2nd too. A lot of 2nds, 4ths. So that offense was pretty outstanding here. Now, what we said, like in hand, Todd Downing there taking over. Mm-hmm. Will they get better? Who knows? Can they get any better? Maybe they'll be first then. We'll see. I think they could be at least the same.
But maybe stats
better,
aren't everything too.
With the wide receiving core.
But stats aren't everything too, because some of those stats are skewed a little bit. Because if you go and you look at, they didn't throw a ton, so they were running a lot more. Right. When those passes happened and they were delivered and they were caught and everything, which was more times than not, then that stat goes jumping up big time. So. Now you're looking at a team that's going to take this to a little bit different of a level. They're going to be more balanced, which I feel not necessarily statistically might be better, might be 2 or 1, whatever, in passing or running. But they're going to be a harder offense to defend, definitely, because they're going to be more balanced. They're going to be harder to figure out exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah,
play
absolutely.
To play.
I agree with you there. So Joe's going to take a little time here to tell you about our friends at Johnstone Supply here from Troy. Joe,
yes,
why don't you tell these guys about Johnstone Supply?
All right, let's see. I want to give a shout out here to our new sponsor.
That's right.
Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York. If you're from the area of Troy, New York, this is the place to go to.
Absolutely.
If you are looking to upgrade your heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and or more, whatever you got to do in your home, Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York is your place. This month, they are offering up their Fujitsu ductless splits. That's right. Fujitsu. We are talking about an energy-saving, ultra-temp model for your home. Right now, they are carrying the new J-Series VRF systems. These systems will be not only more efficient and flexible for any setup you have in your home, plus in stock they have for just you. That's right, you, right there, sitting there watching this. They have for you the Westinghouse made by Fujitsu for more basic, cost-efficient options. For more information, call them today at 518-272-5922.
That's right.
Or visit them on 6th Avenue in Troy, New York. Call today or stop by and say hello to our boys, Tom, James, or even Kevin, and tell them you heard about Johnstone from us right here from Football on the Know from Godzilla Media.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely. Love that they're on board. Go check them out for all your heating and ventilation needs. Definitely down there. You're going to like what you see here. And they got the Fujitsu.
That's right.
I love the name already. I got
I
to
do.
check
Isn't
this
it?
thing out.
It's such a great name.
Yeah, I could definitely use
and just
it.
one more time. Call them. Call them right now. 518-272-5922. Leave a message.
All right, so now we're moving on to the NFC South, and I'm going to talk about the Dirty Birds, and that's the Atlanta Falcons here. We just talked about them, and Arthur Smith moving on to them. Julio Jones swapping now to the Titans. So these two teams know each other a little bit in that aspect, at least. They're doing a little swap here, a little wife swap, I guess, here. So the Atlanta Falcons here now, Joe, what kind of questions do you think face the Falcons this season?
Well, I'm not ready for that. You got to do one.
All right. Well, I got to do one. All right. So, well, I guess what can we expect out of the offense for me then? What can you expect out of this offense with Arthur Smith moving there? He jumped into that role as offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. And was asking for help, because he was mainly, like other backup coach for all these different other positional coaches. So he was first time calling plays, doing things like that. So now bust into the head coaching position now. He had Derrick Henry, obviously, to run with, so that was a nice piece to have. Doesn't really have that type of situation there in Atlanta. You lose a weapon like Julio Jones. You still have Matt Ryan, your franchise quarterback, but he's getting a little longer in the tooth. But you also have Russell Gage and Calvin Ridley there, though. So, so you got a lot of different give and take here. So what direction do you think this offense is going to go in?
Here's the interesting thing is you remember Arthur Smith. Now he's the head coach, so I don't know how much input. Like, he's going to have some, obviously, input. He's the head guy. But I'm not 100%. Is he going to be calling plays, too, on top of being a head coach? Like, these are some questions we don't have answers to as of right now. Dave Ragone, who's now the offensive coordinator that he brings in, is he going to be just the guy that's calling the plays, and he's going to be basically calling plays off of Arthur Smith's system? If that's the case, if it is all in Dave Ragone's hands, then we don't know anything about Dave Ragone calling plays. So I'm just going to go with the obvious.
I don't know.
To be honest, I'm going to go with the obvious. It's got to be more balanced.
Yes.
This is a team that has been a heavy passing team. They've had Julio Jones his whole career pretty much until now, and all they used to do with Matt Ryan is throw the freaking football. They never really had a true running game, despite maybe Devontae Freeman's prime.
Tevin Coleman was there. Yes,
when he was in his prime, that's when they had some
Kyle
kind of a running
was
game.
there. Yes.
But now it's all different. It's all different. Listen, I think they really do truly have a featured back in Mike Davis, who they brought over from the Carolina Panthers. I definitely think he could be your bell cow, your go-to guy in the running game for sure. We've seen what he could do with the Panthers in limited fashion as a starter, and their offensive line has gotten better. Listen, they were banged up last year. Now that they're all healthy again, they get a clean slate once again to not only pass protect but also create running lanes for the running back. So. And you also, like you were just saying, you talked about Russell Gage and Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley now is the number one guy. Julio Jones is out. Ridley's the number one man. I think he can handle it, definitely. We've seen what he can do as a number two. Number one, I think it's going to be no problem at all. Russell Gage is a nice compliment to him, though. At number two, now finally given a chance to be
last year.
A full-time starter. And there's another guy that I'm going to mention because their receiving depth isn't crazy deep after that. They do have some guys that are up and coming. Guys like, I'm going to try to pronounce his name, as Olamide Zaccheaus.
Yes.
He's
That's
a guy he's a guy that has shown promise last season, very limited fashion, but has definitely shown people that maybe he could be another guy to slot into that slot role. Another journeyman that they have on there is Tajay Sharp. I don't really know if he's going to see the field that much, but we'll have to wait and see. And Christian Blake, who they're hoping that he can also be a contributor as well.
All right, so then you were talking about the offense here. Now, how different could it be? So one other question I have now is a potential. Like you said, Calvin Ridley's got to be the number one guy. Russell Gage played really well, but you go and draft Kyle Pitts for a reason here. Not only just because tight end position, but you already have Hayden Hurst there as a full tight end. But you want that receiving type of weapon. So throw it out there for maybe just an option. Will Pitts be the leading receiver for this team, you think?
It's possible. It's definitely possible. And here's the thing. Kyle Pitts, when he was drafted as a tight end, he's really on a whole other level himself. The guy is so athletically gifted. I mean, his size shows you tight end. But what he can do with his size is absolutely amazing. He runs like an absolute wide receiver. He's a gigantic guy, but runs like a wide receiver and handles himself like a wide receiver. You can literally line him up. And Florida Gators have done this in college. They've lined him out wide. They put him in the slot. They put him at tight end. They moved him all over the football field, which is something that I could see Arthur Smith and his coaching staff do with their offensive game plans week to week. He's not going to be held into the confines of just playing that tight end role. And as far as Hayden Hurst goes, he is another receiving type of tight end as well. And we all have seen it back with Tennessee. Arthur Smith likes to run double tight end sets at times. So that's definitely going to be part of their offense as well, where you're not going to know where the ball is going to go. If it does go to one of these tight ends, it could go to Hurst one play. The next two plays, Kyle Pitts, where's he lined up? Oh, he's in the slot now. It's going to go to him. So very gifted athlete. I definitely think he's going to be a huge contributor in his rookie year this season for the Atlanta Falcons. And like I said before, is he's going to be a chess piece that they move all over the football field, get him put up against weaker defenders and expose them. I definitely think that Pitts is going to be. It's possible that he does, right? But it's going to be hard for him to overcome Ridley. I feel like that's going to be kind of like the thing where Calvin Ridley is going to be the guy that gets the most yards. Maybe not touchdowns. Maybe Kyle Pitts leads him in touchdowns because he's a big body. But all in all, that's going to be a nice competition to watch.
Absolutely. So what else do you have for the Atlanta Falcons here, Joe?
For the Atlanta Falcons, I have I just got
the defense.
I had one thing about the defense, but since we're talking about offense, I want to do one more thing here. Is what could we expect from the Falcons offense to look like? And that's we have already kind of covered that. That just gets thrown out the door. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I think it's going to be obviously it's going to be more balanced. I feel like I don't know how much we're going to see, like in terms of plays being called by Dave Ragone, and that's something that I guess we're going to have to wait till week one to see just exactly how this offense is going to go. But all in all, I think with all these weapons, with Mike Davis in the backfield, with the receiving weapons that you have, drafting Kyle Pitts, I mean, it just screams being balanced. So that's what I think is going to end up happening. And take some pressure off of Matt Ryan, for God's sakes. Don't have him throw the ball 40,000 times a game. So that definitely has to be part of it. My other question that I have for them is, can defensive coordinator Dean Pease improve this defense, which has been struggling for like the last 6 seasons? I mean, it's been terrible. I mean, this is a team that it's not like they don't have talent on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, for God's sakes, they got Grady Jarrett, who's one of the best D tackles in the game, doesn't really ever get talked about. And we know that he was coming off an injury before, but definitely is healthy again, ready to go. Dion Jones, a middle linebacker that doesn't get enough, claim to fame. A guy who is a great, and I mean great linebacker in the middle. And it's like, it begs a question. Now you got a new D coordinator coming in, Dean Pease, right? So he has history with the Baltimore Ravens. And we all know how good the Ravens are, right? So they've done a great job of building that organization, building that defense, and really being, making the right moves with personnel and developing into that defense. I kind of see a similar role here for Dean Pease. I think it's not something that's too big for him. And when you look at their defensive line right now, like that used to be had some holes in it. Yes, you still have Grady Jarrett there, but I actually think that they bring over a guy who played for the Saints, Tyler Davison, who was kind of like a backup for the Saints for a little bit, got some playing time, but man, this guy can definitely wreak havoc as a D tackle. And then they bring over a guy by the name of Jonathan Bullard, who's kind of like an unknown name, but he's going to show some people that he deserves to be talked about, coming over from Seattle. Another kind of under-the-radar talent that Seattle has had for a couple of seasons. He comes over now to the Atlanta Falcons, definitely going to help him out. And other than that, now you have on the opposite sides of Dion Jones, you have some young linebackers that still got to prove themselves. We know that they can rush the passer off the edge, but can they be able to handle the pass defensive game? Can they get in the right spots in zone coverages and defend the pass? So that's something that they still got to work on. And then their secondary, and this is a secondary that's been worked on year and year in and year out, and they just seem to just spinning their wheels. But A.J. Terrell was out all last season, a guy who showed promise as a rookie in 2020. Now I think that he's going to definitely blow up this year and help this defense out, along with guys like Fabian Moreau coming over from Washington. So do I think they got better? Yes. How much better they got? Time will tell, because you can put all the different type of free agents on a new roster and say, hey, we made this team better. But it's all about chemistry and executing the defensive plays the way they need to be. So if they can do that, I think they'll be good enough to at least help get the offense the ball back.
Yeah, I know. And what was happening there with Dan Quinn, and as they started to struggle more and more every season, I don't think you can get much worse as what they were at one point anyway. So it can only get better. So you could probably just answer it just as quick as that. But all right, so now let's move on to the Carolina Panthers. Now they were making some moves over the offseason. One of the big moves here is getting Sam Darnold here now, Joe. Now the big question, I guess, for them is Darnold going to be the answer for them then, right? I guess, if you take a look at they had Teddy Bridgewater, and he was fairly successful for them, but again, too many turnovers for their liking. Again, I think he was somewhere near almost like 15, 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions or so. Just again, he wasn't really the guy that was going to take over. I think they grabbed him to see, kind of be a stopgap or see what they had of him, see if he had anything left in the tank, because you did see him in positions there with the Saints being able to lead a team for a bit, but they wanted to try and get what they could out of him. Now they go and pull the trigger on Sam Darnold away from the Jets, and he gets a fresh start out of New York, where it's the big city. The people think it might be a little better situation for him. Not all the glitz and the glam and the pressure on him to perform. And he's reunited, with some buddies too there. And I think overall a better situation. He's got Christian McCaffrey in the backfield as well. So
again,
is he
finally
the answer? Who knows exactly still, but it's another team that's taking another chance on him, a fresh new start, and we'll see moving forward. He has better weapons than he did in New York, so you would think that if it was his time, he would get better along here with the Carolina Panthers.
And that's the thing with Sam Darnold, is he the answer at quarterback? That's always been the question about him.
That's been the question for the past couple of years,
since
I guess,
he's been with the Jets.
Absolutely.
They were still asking that question up to when he left the Jets, so when he was traded. So, here's the thing is, for Sam Darnold, he didn't get a fair shot in New York. He just didn't. Like he had his fair share of injuries that he missed some games, and when he came in, you got to remember too is when he was the rookie quarterback for this Jets organization, they didn't have anybody to throw to. They had no weapons. They had they had Le'Veon Bell at the time, but that's all they really had. They had Jamison Crowder in the slot and Le'Veon Bell running the football in a terrible offensive line. Mm-hmm. What do you expect from a quarterback to do with that? Not much. The guy got buried. He got sacked a lot of times. He made some poor judgment throws because he was trying to just make something happen, for God's sakes. Now, you fast forward it to this point, and once he gets traded from the Jets, it looks like they just decided to hey, let's work on the offensive line. Hey, let's get more receiving weapons in. Hey, let's get a running back behind us. They drafted Michael Carter in the draft to be their potential starting running back. They revamped this offensive line all of a sudden, and then they add receiving weapons as soon as they get rid of Darnold. So it's like now they're going to basically say, hey, guess what? Darnold was the problem. No, he wasn't the problem. You guys just finally woke up and made your offense better. So now that Darnold, listen, and it was fun. It was funny. It was really funny that Sam Darnold, when he got traded, he had a big smile.
Yeah.
Like he showed up to the Carolina Panthers stadium, and he had this big smile. He's like, I think this is my home. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm happy when
so
I'm playing.
he got traded to a better team, a better organization, a better team, a young team, a team that is second in terms of average age. They are, for God's sakes, on average, they are 24 years old. The whole team, on average, 24. So he gets traded to a young team, gets reunited with Robbie Anderson, and it feels so good. And you also got guys like DJ Moore, who he's going to be able to throw to. He's got Christian McCaffrey, like you mentioned before, a guy that he's going to be able to deliver the football out of the backfield, hand it off to him, a better offensive line to help protect. How could you not love this? So for the Carolina Panthers, I think they've kind of, just like you were saying before about Teddy Bridgewater, I feel like he was just a stopgap guy, and they knew that eventually they were going to have to find their guy. An opportunity arose, and they seized it. They bring in Sam Darnold. He's going to be their franchise quarterback and grow with this very young team. And let's see what they can do in his first year.
Yeah, absolutely. So taking a look at the roster here now, what kind of questions here do you have for the Carolina Panthers now, Joe, moving forward?
One other question I have is what's the one thing the Panthers are still in need of? And we already kind of talked about how the ages, and this is kind of where I'm going with it, is because they're such a young team, the one thing that kind of can stand in their way is experience. Not a lot of these guys have enough experience to go deep into the season, to know how to week to week handle their professional week to week game plans. And I'm not trying to downplay them like they're too young, they don't know what they're doing. But what I'm trying to say is, like, when they do in fact if they reach the playoffs this year, experience plays a big part. When you make the playoffs, it's a whole different season. So that's when experience takes over. And these guys just, as of yet, don't have that kind of postseason experience that if they were able to make it, say for some unknown reason, they win the division. You know what I mean? It shocks everybody. Win the division, they're in the playoffs, or even if it's a wild card. Now experience takes over. I don't think they have that factor in them as a team. I think they're so young to the point where, like, they might be overwhelmed when they do make the playoffs because it is very different how they handle themselves, how they execute their game plans, because at that point it's sudden death. There's no other week if you lose. You're done. So it's a different mindset. It's a different way of playing the game. It's a different way of game planning. So that's where I think is the one thing where they're lacking is experience. But all in all, other than that, they are an extremely young team. They are going to grow together. They're going to develop chemistry together, and they could become very dangerous really soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I even posed the question here for me when I was taking a look at it and some of the moves that they made. They go and draft J.C. Horn. You got Hassan Reddick there now. Yeah. So now taking a look at this defense and how they performed last year, do you think now they can crack the top 15 here for defenses for this team?
100%. I mean, this is the biggest thing for the Panthers is, like, we all know that they had, little holes here and there. Like, they didn't have a corner opposite Deante Jackson. So they were missing somebody there. Now they draft J.C. Horn, who not only fits their defensive scheme to a T, but is a very physical guy who does not give up anything. So, listen, I've seen him play with South Carolina, and he was like white on rice in terms of corner playing against receivers. Like, the guy just doesn't give you inches. He is all over you. Now, other than that, we also know that they are a very young team, and with that, they have a lot of players that are up and coming. So you look at a guy like Derek Brown that plays D-tackle. Definitely a guy who was well worth the first-round draft choice in 2020 for them. He wreaks havoc in the backfield. You have Brian Burns, another first-rounder in 2019 for them, to come off the edge, who gets after the quarterback. He had a successful season last year. They bring in free agent Daquan Jones, who he's okay. He's not great, but he's okay. He's serviceable. And then this was an interesting addition to me on the D-line is Morgan Fox comes over from the Rams, a guy who was a kind of a rotational type of defender for the Rams. He comes over and is, as of right now, in a starting role. So that's going to be intriguing to watch. I think he's a fairly decent player. But other than that, they bring in guys like Hassan Reddick, who comes over from the Cardinals, kind of didn't get his fair shake in Arizona, was seen more as a pass rusher than a true linebacker. I wonder how they're going to use him here with Carolina, which is going to be interesting. And all in all, I think that their team is ready, they're hungry, and they're going to get after it. So I think with their depth, along with their young guys that they have in place, I think they could easily be getting the top 15.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so we're talking about the AFC and the NFC's biggest questions, the South biggest questions. Well, right now I'm going to take a little time to tell you about my friends at Mohawk Honda right there on Freeman Bridge Road, right down the road from where I work. I get to see this place every time when I go on break, driving by there, and there's dealers out there right now trying to do their best to give you whatever they can for a trade-in. They're looking for vehicles because there's a shortage in the market right now. And not only would they try and get you on that trade-in, they're going to try to put you in wherever they can, whatever they might have in stock on their lot, whatever might be there. They're just trying to force the sale, whatever they can. A little pushy, you hate that stuff, right? Mohawk Honda, they're going to give you the money that really you deserve for your trade. And then while you're there, check out the inventory that they have. They have acres upon acres of inventory, Hondas and even other makes and models here. Mohawk Honda, also the Mohawk brand, has Mohawk Chevrolet also there too. They have the cars that you need there. Something you want, it's there. They're not going to force you into anything you don't want to be into. They're going to take a look at what you've got, assess your trade, give you the money that you deserve, put you in the car that you deserve and that you want when you go there and take a look at all the inventory they have on their lot. They go out of their way to please you, Joe, and
they definitely do.
I see it all the time. So that's Mohawk Honda. Check them out, mohawkhonda.com. And also just go down to Freeman's Ridge Road. Look at check it out.
Look at the inventory,
I'm not lying.
man.
I see this stuff, and it is amazing. So
listen,
Mohawk Honda.
That's the funny thing too, is as I've driven by like plenty of dealerships now, and that's what I kind of do. I kind of like browse to see like what they have. Lots are empty.
Yeah.
They might
Empty.
have like 12 cars, like, and they're used cars. They're not brand new cars. They're like 12 used cars, like kind of staggered, so it looks kind of like they have some inventory. But when you go over to Mohawk Honda, those guys, I mean, listen, not only do they aim to please you, but they have the biggest inventory right now than anybody in the area. So why wouldn't you want to check them out first? They have the inventory. Go there, check them out. They are great people too. They will help you from step one all the way to the finish line. They are there to please you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are talking about the biggest questions for the NFC South. Let's move on to the New Orleans Saints here, Joe.
All right.
New Orleans Saints. What do you got here for the Saints?
Well, I mean, the one thing that's one of the biggest questions right now for the Saints is which quarterback deserves to be the starter week one? And there's a lot of pros and cons to each guy. I mean, we've seen, Jameis Winston have some success, been pretty darn good as a starter. And then we've seen the other side of Jameis where I don't know if he can be a starter. He's throwing a lot of picks. He's fumbling the football. And then you got Taysom Hill, another guy who has ups and downs. I know Taysom Hill is exciting when he's on the football field. He can run. He can do all these different things. But to me, I kind of feel like Taysom Hill is still more of that gadget type of player, a guy who does a lot of different things, kind of like back in the days of Cordell Stewart. When they called Slash could play quarterback. He could punt the ball. He could catch the ball. That's what we kind of see from Taysom Hill, a guy that can do a lot of different things. He plays receiver. He plays quarterback sometimes. He plays running back. He plays special teams. This guy can tackle too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's another thing. So for Taysom Hill, I still kind of see him as that kind of gadget guy that Sean Payton is going to really like to keep as that gadget guy, a guy he throws these little wrinkles out there on the offense that kind of screws up defenses. So for Winston, listen, he sat behind Drew Brees. He's learned behind Drew Brees before he retired, before he moved on. Now Winston he's ready. I feel like with Sean Payton, with his tutelage, with him having a couple of off seasons, learning that Saints offense, learning behind Drew Brees, I think this has really prepared him to be a better quarterback. And listen, a lot of people in Saints training camp is definitely have a lot of high praise for a guy like Jameis Winston. So I feel like right now it looks like Winston has the lead a little bit, has the edge, and I feel like he's going to be a better quarterback for them all in all. Taysom Hill, listen, he has talent. But do I think he could be an every down quarterback? Possibly. I just not 100% sold on him because of all the different things that he does. But for Winston, I feel like with the time and the effort that he's been putting in, and I see a different type of quarterback. I feel like he's going to be a more patient, quarterback than he was in his past. I feel like he's going to be a guy that's going to be dialed in and is going to take this very seriously and perform well.
Did you see that video that came out of the Saints, I think, working out through the pad drills and like running through the gaps, and they came down to everybody's going, and then Jameis Winston goes in and he hits the pad. It's like, duh, like he's the most out of, like, everybody else just bull rushed through it, and he's like, almost got tackled by the thing. It was hilarious.
That's why he needs to stay at quarterback.
Stay at quarterback and stay in the pocket, yeah, because you're not Taysom Hill. But
exactly, yeah.
But yeah, and that's why you kind of been waiting for this guy. Again, this guy was picked 1 overall in that particular draft, so there's been high expectations around this guy altogether. So, and he's shown you the arm talent before with how many yardage he could put up, and putting the ball deep and in placement where it needed to be. But again, the decision making is where the problem is.
And turnovers.
That's where I think some of these, has turned into where Taysom Hill was the starter in that one gap where they went through a season without Drew Brees.
Real quick. Also, he's never played behind a good offensive line like this is. This is one of the best offensive lines he's ever played with. So this is going to be huge for him. Like, he's not going to have to be rushed a lot of times. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to have one of the best offensive lines to play behind. He's going to have a running back like Alvin Kamara who can bail him out when he needs it, because we all know that Kamara, even though he's in the backfield, he could just be sitting over there on the sideline like, hey, look, I'm open. And then if you're in trouble, just dump it off to him. So I feel like with the offense, the way Sean Payton works his offense, and we already know he's going to game plan week to week to actually help Winston no matter what the situation is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, again, they've got him, Taysom Hill still penciled in here as the starter, but I don't know. And I saw him last year as a starter, what they did, and they were still able to be. We talked about this when he came in. Like, we still thought that he was going to be just that nice gadget spot, and that's how they like to play it. But when he was in there as a starter, they were still doing fairly well and productive. They might just throw both quarterbacks out in the field at the same time and do something crazy too as well. I mean, because then you're still able to utilize Taysom Hill for what he does, and you still have Jameis Winston there. Now, true starter, I don't know. I'm still rolling with Taysom Hill until something changes my mind.
And here's the thing but see, this is where it kind of gets a little, crazy here. It's like, listen, I know Taysom Hill, he's displayed some pretty amazing athletic ability, but as a quarterback, he hasn't been really done much. You might have seen a trick play with Drew Brees, and then all of a sudden he's got the ball over here and he throws it across the football field to a wide open receiver. But we've yet to see him in a absolute, no doubt about it, just the quarterback role. Seen enough from him to do that. Winston, we have tape from him. Yes, some of it's bad, but a lot of it was pretty good too in Tampa. So I feel like now that you got a guy right here ready to go, a guy who's been there, has experience being a full-time starter at quarterback. Hill's a nice story. Don't get me wrong. Definitely a nice story. A guy who's like a gadget guy. Maybe he ends up being the starter, maybe he doesn't. But I still think that Winston has more experience, and that's what's really going to kind of carry him over to get that starting deal.
All right, moving forward, what else do you have for these guys for a question for the Saints?
The other thing I have, and this is kind of like, I was kind of surprised by this, is are the Saints still in need of more receivers? I mean, you look at their depth chart right now, and you got Michael Thomas, who happens to be, he's going to be missing time. He's on the PUP list, and it sounds like he's not going to be back till week 7. So almost halfway through the year. So you don't have him right now. Now you got Traquan Smith. You got Marquez Callaway, who was a draft pick in 2020, who they really do love. I definitely see him jumping up into that starting role with subtract Thomas out of there. And then you got a lot of guys that maybe they could be the answer. Maybe, you know what I mean? So you got guys like Deante Harris, who was sprinkled in there last season, a very kind of like explosive type of receiver. Definitely could see him more as like a slot guy. And you got guys like Ty Montgomery, who's been kind of like
to make the roster here.
Kind of like a journeyman guy. You know, Chris Hogan and Kevin White just got added 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So you know that they're desperate when you bring a guy back from the dead like that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
But yes, I mean that's the thing is like, listen, there are free agents still out there that they can bring in. And you have time. Like, I know that's only 2 or 3 more weeks until kickoff, but now's the time to do it. Do it right now. Bring guys in. Like, they brought in Kevin White. Why not bring in a guy like T.O.? We've heard this week that T.O. wants to come back. At 47 years old, Terrell Owens says he can still make it in this league. And some people might laugh about that. But here's the craziest thing that I learned. not only does T.O. look in impeccable shape, I mean, the guy looks like he never left the NFL, but also he still runs a 4.4 40 at his age.
Say what?
Yeah, exactly. That is absolutely crazy. This guy, and I've seen video. It's not like he was working out with Tyreek Hill and I believe like Justin Jefferson or somebody. Like he was working out with a couple of receivers, and they actually timed it on video. And they timed Tyreek Hill, T.O., and I think it was Jefferson on the other side, running 40s. And this dude ran a 4.4. It is absolutely insane for his age. I fully believe him. I believe Terrell Owens could play in the modern era. I think he could come back and make a team. I definitely do. So a team like the Saints right now, maybe they could use some T.O.
Who knows? Maybe that would be the team that would do it. All right, so for one question for me that I have now with this team, because, again, losing Drew Brees, the weapons here, wide receiver, they have, a neat looking running back room here. Mm-hmm. But will the defense be the strength of this team, do you think?
I don't know. Here's the reason why, is because they've lost some players on the defensive side. Now, people may be like, oh, wait, they lost Trey Hendrickson. Now, if you don't know who Trey Hendrickson is, he was like the sack leader last year. Like, he was amazing. So they lose him as a defensive end. He's not there. They put Marcus Davenport in that spot, but it wasn't anywhere near close to as good as him. And then you also lost guys inside on the D-line. You got David Onyemata. Now, as your starting D tackle, you have Malcolm Roach, who I never heard of. So it sounds like he's a guy that's been waiting to be a starter. Now is penciled in right there. And guys that still have to prove themselves. They've been on this team. They just haven't been in a starting role. Now they are. And then when you look at their linebackers, I feel like that's their strength right now. You got guys that are returning like DeMario Davis, and Quan Alexander re-signs with them. So their linebacking core is still intact. And then you go to their secondary, and that's kind of where they also lost players. Like, you look, okay, maybe not safety. They still got Malcolm Jenkins. They still got Marcus Williams. They still got Lattimore. But the other cornerback spot is now none other penciled in there is Ken Crawley, who lost his job last year, never started for them last season, moved on, went to the Niners, came back to them. And in turn, they've also just signed a guy like Brian Poole, who was with the Jets and played predominantly slot corner. So are you trying to potentially push Poole to the outside, which could be disastrous? Maybe that, his niche is slot. So there's still holes in this defense. So as far as the defense being the strength of over the offense, I'm not so sure about that. I think they lost a lot of players on both sides, and now I still think the offense has to carry this team no matter what.
All right, we're talking NFC West or South's biggest questions. We're going to finish it off here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now, and they are the returning champions here. Tom Brady goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and promises a championship, delivers, but they already had a loaded team as it is. And now even if you look at the roster this year, there's been some players that had left, but a lot of the same guys.
Who left?
And then even some additions, though. They've had some additions. Now, like I said, not a lot of important people left.
Nobody
so they
important.
just filled some other spots, in there. And it seems like everybody that, might be on the tail end of their career has been trying to jump on this bandwagon to try and
I know I
go
would.
with Tom Brady, too, to collect one more, or at least their first ring, and him to grab another one. So what questions do you have for the Bucs, if anything, here for
Well,
them?
I mean, here's the thing. Is like this team, like, it was surprising to me. Listen, I said on this show a year ago that I'm like, there's no way Tampa Bay can re-sign all these big-time stars. There's just no way. There's not enough money to go around. I don't know how they did it. I don't know who they paid off. I don't know what they did, but they absolutely did, in fact, do that. They managed to re-sign every superstar that they had. Chris Godwin, I thought was going to leave. I thought Shaq Barrett was going to be gone. No way. They re-signed all of them. All of their starters. Rob Gronkowski came back for another year. Even Antonio Brown, who was out there in free agency for a while, they're like, just come back with us. And they managed to re-sign every important player to this roster, and I'm shocked. I cannot believe. So as far as questions go, there's really not a lot. I mean, what can you really say? They had one of the best defenses, one of the best offenses, and they didn't lose anybody after winning the Super Bowl, for God's sake. So the only thing I could say really is what could derail the Buccaneers from having another successful season. And it starts with Tom Brady. Will we see the same Tom Brady as last season? Will we see a little bit of age in his body? Will he – and injuries. Injuries happen all the time. If this Tampa Bay team happens to get injured and out of their starting positions, like maybe Tom Brady develops an issue with his throwing arm. Maybe something happens with his plant leg. Maybe something happens to their offensive lineman or whatever. That's the only thing I could see derail this team. Is if they stay healthy, they're going to be really tough to hold back. They really are. They got all the pieces in place, so they're going to be dangerous for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, again, everybody tries to jump on top of this thing and be like, oh, yeah, well, he's dwindling. His ball isn't as deep, and things and crisp.
Well, it's definitely not as deep.
You see the aging as he's going. I mean, that sounded even wrong. Balls deep. I'm not sure. But anyways.
Wait, now you really said it.
Now I said it. Yeah. So, but anyways, but this is the thing we've been watching. But it seems like this particular offseason, he looks a bit different. Maybe he's tanning too much down there in
too
Tampa.
much
I'm not sure,
avocado
but he
ice cream.
does look a bit older here and more of that older guy kind of look over it. And is it going to be the year finally that maybe he takes a tick down here and doesn't perform as well? And it would be tough because besides that, you have Blaine Gabbert back there, Ryan Griffin, and they also drafted Kyle Trask here. So not a whole lot of crazy, great players here for the quarterback room. I mean, Blaine Gabbert has had some success with 49ers and some other teams.
He played for Jacksonville too.
But yeah, I mean, he's the guy that drives this whole workhorse. But you know what, though, too? And not only just perform, he's got enough weapons to get it done for whatever he does. He just needs to get the ball to him. But he basically, if you take a look at this season, was a bigger motivator than really big player. What he did on the field,
Right.
I think what he did off the field inspired the players more, and that was bigger than anything. Because when anything was down, he would pep talk him and tell him, "Hey, let's go. Let's just get this done. Forget about this." And there you go. And that's what drove them forward, and that's what all the players have continued to say.
To what you're saying, here's a story that actually happened in the playoffs. They win a playoff game, right? All of a sudden, all the players that have never won a playoff game before, obviously the young guys like Devin White and so forth, Shaq Barrett, they drop to their knees and start crying. Tom Brady comes over to him and he pats him on and he's like, "Hey, stand up." He's like, "We're not done." He looked him right in the eye and said, "Stop crying." He's like, "We're not done. This is not the end. What are you crying for? We still got another game to play." So, I mean, right there and then, those players kind of like reacted like, "Wait, what? He's right." Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, we're not done. Why am I mean, yeah, there were tears of joy, but still, like, stay focused. We got another game to play. This isn't the end. You don't break down now. Wait till we win the chip. And I'll tell you right now, just like you were saying, like off the field, I think he played a bigger part with this team than really on it.
Does he look like a bitch?
No.
What the hell?
When he was crying on the ground, those guys, they probably did.
I don't think that's the way we're going with that.
Anyways, what questions do you have now with
so,
it?
I mean, there's really no questions. I mean, I tried my hardest to come up with something, but you can't when you have such a complete team like they do. Injuries was one thing. It could be anybody, any major contributor goes down and something like that. That does change the dynamic of a team. But, here's the thing. At the end of the year, whether they make it to the playoffs, go deep in the playoffs, win the Super Bowl or not, is this the last season we're going to see Tom Brady? Is this the year? Now, if you remember 5 years ago, he said he wanted to play until he's 45. Mm-hmm. That day is rapidly approaching. And by the end of this season, is he true to his word? Like, is he going to be like, win, lose, or draw? This is my last season. Have a good one.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. Here's my take on it. Is I only think he does that if he's broken every record as a quarterback. Because he's close to Drew Brees, and that was the only one that was ahead of him in a couple of categories. If he supersedes him, and I don't know what other records he has to break, but he's close to whatever.
There's a few individual ones still.
But that's what I'm saying.
He has mainly team ones, but there are a few individual ones he still has.
But it's quarterback. That's what I'm saying. Like if he breaks all the quarterback records, I think that's what he's been waiting for. If he is the last guy and he has all those records as just a quarterback, I think he may call it quits.
Yeah, maybe. But for me, I mean, that's just fine and dandy. And I mean, I understand you'll be able to play that long, and that's a great thing too. But it's just like with LeBron James in the NBA. He started his career really early, right out of high school there. So he's had the longevity to break a bunch of records too as well, that other players that didn't start that long, that came out of college and played. So if you're playing that long, you're bound to break a bunch of records here and there. So
that's what I'm saying.
I don't think it's that impressive.
No, it's not about impressive or anything.
Well, then why would he want to stay and just like, oh, I finally beat this one? I'm like, all right, great, Grandpa.
Tom Brady's the
Good
ultimate
job.
competitor. Like, his whole...
Well, sure, it took him this much longer than this guy.
Listen, why didn't he retire now on top? There's no guarantee that they even make it back to the Super Bowl. There's no guarantee that they win it again. That's not it.
It is.
But here's my thing. but no, honestly, like, come on. If you won the Super Bowl last year and you were thinking about retiring, you should have retired last season. You're on top. You won another championship. Everybody already views you as one of the best, if not the best quarterback of all time. That's what everyone kind of views you as. So what's keeping you here, Tom? Why did you come back another season? It's not championships. Don't tell me that, because you've won more than anybody can count. You know what I mean? So to me, the absolutely only thing that it points to is that he wants to be leading every quarterback record when he retires. That's the only thing that I could point to.
I don't know.
Maybe it's the only thing I could see.
Yeah, I mean, it could if you want to think about it. But for me, I think it's just this is who he is. He likes doing his thing. And I think when he says, I'm going to hang it up and I'm done, well, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, to be just basic. My name is Thomas Brady now. I'm at home. I have I have my wife and my kids, and I'm daddy and this and this. He likes being Tom Brady. Here we go. I'm the greatest of all time. I could go play here and blah, blah, blah.
I know.
But I just don't think he wants to be home. I really don't think he does. I don't think he's just that homebody type of guy.
See, I
really don't.
I think it's different because last season he was talking about how nice it would be home with his family, with his kids, and he loves spending time with his kids and stuff like that. So,
which he barely does. That's why he has problems with his marriage. And that's why she even told him after the Super Bowl, it's like, "Are you done yet? Is this it now? Are you, what else do you have to?
What else do you have to prove?
What else do you have to prove?" And then he says, "Oh, well, I got one more year to prove, I guess.
I got more records to break."
Dude,
that's really what
are you doing? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just,
listen,
sure, whatever.
Okay, will Tom Brady be divorced by the end of the season?
I'm going to start betting. I got to go to Rivers Casino right now and start betting on it. So I don't know. We'll see. Will he get another ring, or will he lose his other one, the one that matters? You know what I mean? Right? What ring matters to you? The 6 or 7 you have on your fingers for the Super Bowls, or that one? So, all right. So for me, for the question here for the Bucs, then the only one I would come up with here is, if the Bucs win the Super Bowl, or even if they don't, will Byron Leftwich finally be considered for a head coaching job? We've heard that maybe there was some people interested in him the last couple of seasons. We've been saying this since we probably started this podcast 4 years ago, that he was an up-and-coming coach. We went through the whole ranks. Now offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They go and win the Super Bowl. Again, it goes to Tom Brady, and it's all on him. It was nothing to do with Byron Leftwich.
Nothing to do with the team. Had nothing to do with the team at all.
But, finally now, is he going to be in one of those type of conversations, and will Tampa Bay just say, hey, you go ahead and interview for some other jobs here? So that's my question, I guess.
I mean, to me, it's absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, he's been in talks. This past offseason, his name was brought up. You know what I mean? Like, there was teams that were interested in bringing him aboard, interviewing him, but teams didn't want to wait till after the Super Bowl. That's really what it came down to. Teams were just saying, hey, we can't wait forever. And if Byron Leftwich, after the Super Bowl, went and did those interviews, there's no guarantee he takes the job. Maybe he decides, hey, Houston, sorry, I don't want your job. There's too much going on here. I'm out. Or anybody else. Or even Eric Bieniemy, another guy who was being brought up heavily. Like, there was a lot of teams lined up to try to maybe get him in for an interview. And another guy, offensive coordinator, that was in the Super Bowl. Nobody wanted to wait for him, which I fucking don't understand why. Because if you got guys like Byron Leftwich, Eric Bieniemy, after the Super Bowl, interview them both. If it doesn't work out, like teams like Houston, like I thought Houston was one of those teams that definitely could wait forever. They were one of those teams that you weren't in a rush. What were you gonna? David Culley's your head coach now. You could have waited till after you interviewed both those guys. If neither one of them took the job, you could have still freaking hired David Culley to be your head coach. You could have waited. So, I mean, I think for Byron Leftwich, absolutely, he's going to be in those talks next offseason. Same thing with Eric Bieniemy. We know he was part of it as well. So those guys, they definitely are deserving of becoming head coaches, and I think that they're both going to be head coaches next season.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's it for us tonight. We've been going through these lists, and we're excited that we got them all set through. Yeah,
in one show.
Figured it out. We've been really excited. We've been amped up, and why? It's because we've been drinking Ray's Energy, Joe.
I'm empty.
I know. I'm sad. Mine ran out too as well.
It's been doing
saddening
so good
now. I know, but we're proud to be part of Ray's Energy. Go to repsports.com. Put in the promo code Raise Them Up, and you'll get 15% off your purchase.
Yes,
that is
sir.
our promo code for that. We love it. It's sugar-free, zero, everything just about. I mean, and also 30 minutes before your workout, hit it up. You got the energy that you need. No crash afterwards.
No.
And again, for sugar-free, it tastes great. No crazy aftertaste as well.
But crazy
I
flavors.
hate that stuff, but crazy flavors too as well.
Definitely crazy flavors. And no dyes. Like, that's the other thing, too, is like this energy drink has no dyes, no sugar, amino acids, electrolytes. It's got all good stuff for you. So pick some up. Listen, I'm still energized by this drink, and I only had a half a cup of it.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
But and just like Jim said, no crash. But go to repsports.com. That's where you go and get all the Ray's good stuff. Listen, they don't sell just energy drinks. They sell protein powders. I mean, pre-workout, post-workout stuff. They sell all kinds of stuff.
Pills, yeah.
So make sure you reach out to them, repsports.com. Definitely put the promo code in because it helps our show out. Raise them up and get 15% off any order you have. Also, they're running promos right now where you can do sampler packs right now. Just enter the promo code Raise Them Up and just pay shipping for those sample packs. And also, if you want to order cases, go ahead and order cases. If you love it that much, listen, their cases, $30 a case, right? That averages out to be $2.50 a can. That's cheaper than any store you go to and buy energy drinks. So why not buy them from Ray's? Made in the USA, down in Florida. Let's go. Join the Rays Rebellion. Become a Rays-a-maniac, and let's go.
Yeah, talk about becoming and joining a revolution. Become a know-it-all. Come to our Facebook page. Become a know-it-all there, too. Join us here on Football on the Know show. And also give us a like, too, while you're there on our page, Football on the Know with Jim and Joe. And go to YouTube as well. We're also there. Also, Football on the Know show. Go check us out there. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And on Twitter, too, for latest and greatest updates, too. Joe's out there tweeting nonstop. News, too, you don't usually hear over the mainstream media, too. Good, feel-good stories, all kinds of stuff. Check us out on Twitter.
We just
posted,
we just posted a story about the EA Madden covers and how they all came about.
Yeah.
So that's something that nobody's really talking about. But also, for anybody out there that follows us on podcasts, you like this show, follow us on any platform where there's podcasts.
Oh, absolutely.
We are all
too.
over
Spotify
the place.
And all that.
Spotify, iTunes, you name it. We are there. Make sure you become a know-it-all.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.